You know, everyone complains about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, saying there's no level scaling and the game's too easy. Well, don't worry, I've come up with a solution to both of those problems. I've made every enemy trainer have only level 100 Arceus. That's bound to make the game more interesting, right? So, let's talk about the rules of the challenge. And don't worry if you find rule sections boring, I brought Old Reliable to provide some much needed stimulation. Okay, first of all, every single trainer Pokemon in the game is replaced with a level 100 Arceus, but they retain their primary typing and all of their moves. We're not allowed to use items in battle. We're not going to use more than one of the same Pokemon, move, ability, or item. Everything has to be unique. We can't just run 6 Pokemon with Destiny Bond. Finally, we can't battle wild Pokemon, otherwise it would make leveling up and grinding a viable strategy to beat the challenge, which would be zero crack. Alright, remember to subscribe if you enjoy, and let's get into the challenge. The game starts off as normal and we get the option to pick our starter. Choice doesn't matter a huge amount, so we're going to take Fuecoco, because look at his dumb little face. Nemona challenges us to a battle and we have no choice but to accept. She sends out her Arceus, but don't worry guys, she's going to go easy on us. Of course, she instantly vaporizes us with a leafage, but luckily, winning this battle isn't mandatory for beating the game. We progress further through the tutorial until after we meet Koraidon and we have to fight Arven. Of course, he sends out his Arceus and immediately puts me in the dirt, as expected. What do you mean was I going easy on him? Did you see his Pokemon? You'd be worried about my future if you were me? Fuck you, Arven, now I'm not going to help you with your dog. Anyway, once we lose to Arven, we can head straight on over to the gates of Mesagoza, where we have one more Nemona fight, and the last fight for a while that we don't have to win to progress. Happily taking our third loss in a row, we head into Mesagoza and reach the first battles of the game that we actually have to win. These two Team Star Grunts will battle you one after the other with no chance to save between them. If you lose to the second, you have to fight the first again. Here's our first bit of problem solving we have to do. Against an Arceus that only knows Scratch and Leer, the choice is obvious. I go back out to Area 1 and I find a Ghastly that I catch and name Brago. Now we literally can't lose that first fight until it runs out of PP. The real issue arises on the second Grunt, whose Arceus knows Tackle, Leer and Bite. There's no easy guaranteed win we can get for this fight, since no type is immune to Dark, and I thought the run was over before it began. I find a TM for Endure, and I realised that if I could find a Pokemon that knows Torment, we would be able to get through this battle. Checking the Cerebi encounter pages for the routes we have access to, it seems like there's absolutely nothing that learns Torment in the area though. While getting desperate, in the back of my head, I remember that at the start of the game, you see 2 Squawkabilly fly around and land on the roof of your house. Squawkabilly can learn Torment, which would save the run. I head back to the player's house, and sure enough, on the roof, there are 2 level 2 Squawkabilly. I catch one, name it Taunos, and start catching Pokemon to level it up. I also catch a Deerling I named Tyvar, who will be vital to get us through this battle. With enough XP gained from catching Pokemon that my team has all the moves it needs, I start the first Team Star Grunt fight. Since it's incapable of dealing damage to me, I'm able to get a free Hypnosis on the Arceus with Ghastly, then swap to Deerling and use Leech Seed. Swapping back to Ghastly, it can do nothing as its HP is slowly drained to 0. In the second Grunt fight, I lead with Squawkabilly and get very lucky that on the first turn, the Arceus uses Leer, letting me Torment for free. Swapping to Ghastly, I can now use Endure every second turn to survive the Bite every second turn, since Torment stops Pokemon from using the same move twice in a row. This gives me enough time to use Hypnosis, swap to Deerling, use Leech Seed and then back to Ghastly to endure until it dies from the tick damage. The Arceus finally ticks down to 0 HP and we win our first set of battles. Finally out of the tutorial area, after making a few more purchases and few new catches, I head to the Medali Gym. Larry opens with his Komala Arceus, which only knows Sucker Punch, Yawn and Slam. If I don't use an attack with Ghastly, he can literally never hit me. Putting it to sleep with Hypnosis, I'm able to swap into Fibblethip the Wooper to set up Toxic Spikes, which will poison any Pokemon that gets switched in for the rest of the battle. Ghastly uses Curse, which at the cost of half its HP will make the target take a quarter of its health every turn, which finishes the job as it still can't hit us back. Next up, Larry sends out the Dunsparce Arceus. The Dunsparceus if you will. Knowing Glare, Hyperdrill and Drill Run, Brago again cannot be hit and the toxic damage eventually takes it down. Larry's final Pokemon, Staraptor Arceus, knows Facade and Aerial Ace. Luckily, its primary type is normal, so it does get hit by the toxic spikes, so we only need to stall a few turns until the poison takes it down. For this reason, I brought a Bonsly with Sturdy to guarantee an additional wasted turn for extra tick damage. Swapping between Pokemon and using Endure to waste turns, we easily have enough fodder to survive until the Toxic does the job, winning us our first badge. Bonsai and Ghastly both evolve after the battle, and Wooper very shortly after. We're a while away from any of our stats mattering, but eventually we'll be able to tank a hit or two. While looking for some more Pokemon to catch for the next gym, I spot something in the corner of my eye that looks suspiciously pink. I've absolutely no use for this Pokemon, but hey, got a shiny! The Pokemon I actually need is a Klefki, but since I only have one badge, I can't catch one that will obey me. Oh well, guess I'll catch one that hates me, make it breed, and steal its child for war. Now we have a Klefki, I have named it Elspeth. I also take the time to catch a Sap Sipper Skiddo and call it Nissa. We're ready for Brassius. To start, he sends out his pet little Arceus, and I send out Clodsire, who dodges a Sleep Powder and sets up Toxic Spikes. From there, I switch into Skiddo and begin PP stalling. Brassius' Petalil only knows grass moves, so our immunity lets us slowly wait until it runs out of PP and starts using Struggle. After diligently counting all 30 moves, I switch to Sudowoodo to use its Sturdy ability to tank the first Struggle and then let it die to the second. I let Clodsire eat the third Struggle hit and bring out Haunter to take the fourth, using Endure to ensure its survival. Brassius' second Pokemon, Smoliv, knows 2 moves. We're able to wait for the poison to kill the Smoliv Arceus by switching into Haunter when it's going to use Tackle and into Skiddo when it's about to use Razor Leaf, easily letting us take it down. Down to Brassius' last Pokemon, it was time to debut the star of this challenge. Klefki. Its ability Prankster lets it usually move first when using a status move, and teaching it Protect and Substitute means that it can stall for turns and turns if necessary. The poison eventually does the job and we claim our second badge. Approaching our third gym fight, Nemona challenges us to a battle. We graciously accept and she explodes the single Scatterbug we brought. Winning all the Nemona fights is optional, by the way. Time to fight Grusha, and we have more tricks up our sleeve. We catch a Voltorb and a Bramblin, and now we're ready to take on the gym. It's usually the hardest gym, but since scaling doesn't matter in this challenge, it's actually one of the easier gyms to cheese. Grusha's first Pokemon is a Frostmoth Arceus, knowing Tailwind, Blizzard, and Bug Buzz. We open with Clodsire holding a Quick Claw, letting us set up Toxic Spikes before Arceus can move. I swap to Voltorb and get very lucky that it dodges a Blizzard, and now we're ready for the cheese. Since Blizzard is a wind move and Bug Buzz is a sound move, we can burn up all of Frostmoth's PP just by swapping between my soundproof Voltorb and my Wind Rider Bramblin. Once it's out of Blizzard PP, we're able to bring in Klefki, who hits a Torment. Now only able to attack every second turn, we swap to Sudowoodo, who sets up a Stealth Rock and a Lair of Spikes. Once she's knocked out, we bring out Clodsire one more time for a second layer of Toxic Spikes. Eventually, Arceus begins to struggle every second turn since it only has one move left while under the effect of Torment, so we bring in Haunter. Haunter is able to use Endure every second turn to ensure that the Arceus goes down to recoil without Haunter being knocked out. Beartic Arceus next, and we just need to stall until all the hazards do the job for us. Beartic knows Aqua Jet, a priority move, so Klefki's Substitute and Protect stall won't cut it. We're able to use Clodsire's Water Absorb ability to stall a few turns, and we just barely have enough time to take it out without losing too many more Pokemon. Knock knock, who's there? Oh shit, the next Pokemon, and it has a priority move as well. We're able to stall further by enduring with Ghastly, swapping to Clodsire to sack it, swapping Ghastly back in, enduring again, letting Ghastly die, bringing out Klefki as our last, and finally protecting to let the Arceus finally die from poison. For the final Pokemon, we can just cycle between Protect and Substitute, and since we've given Klefki a Leftovers to hold, she regains 6% of her health every turn, letting us stall even longer. And with that, we win our third gym badge. On to the fourth, we're taking on Katie in the Bug Gym. Spent an ungodly number of attempts resetting trying to get a Quick Claw to activate on Deerling so I can take out the first Arceus with a Leech Seed, but it just isn't happening. In a stroke of luck, I randomly decide to switch to Haunter, who manages to tank a Struggle Bug. That's the first time we've tanked a direct hit like that. It also means in the next reset, I can just open with Haunter and go for a Curse. From there, we can get to use our newest team member, Karn the Glimmet. Glimmet has the ability Toxic Debris, so when a physical attack hits him, it automatically sets up Toxic Spikes. With the Arceus about to faint from Curse and Toxic Spikes set on the field, you know what time it is. After Protect Substitute stalling through her second Pokemon, Katie sends out her Teddiursa Arceus. This guy is a bit of a problem since it knows Fury Swipes, which could break through Klefki's Substitute. Luckily, we have enough Pokemon to use as fodder, including a Drifloon with the Aftermath ability, giving us an extra 25% damage for free on KO, since it was knocked out with a physical move. Down to only Klefki, with one turn of poison left to go, I have to make a decision. Double Protect, or substitute and risk the Arceus using Fury Swipes and knocking us out. Either way, it's a coin flip at best, and so I go for the substitute. I guess right, the substitute takes the damage for the Fury Cutter, the poison ticks down Teddiursa Arceus, and we win our 4th gym badge. We're just going to take a quick intermission here to thank the sponsor of this video, me. I've started a Patreon in the hopes that one day I can do this full time. Do you want early access to videos? Versions of the videos with soap cuttings and Subway surfers in the corner? All this and more, including your name in the end credits of videos and exclusive content. Thank you so much to everyone who's already supporting me. I'm already using this month's revenue to get myself a new mic arm since this happened last month. Alright, back to the video. Now we have 4 badges, things are actually going to get significantly easier for us. We can now buy the Focus Sash and Rocky Helmet items from the item shop, giving us a massive advantage in fights. Need an example? The 5th gym we take on is the Water Gym. We open with Haunter. Haunter takes an Aqua Cutter first turn, but survives due to the Focus Sash and uses Curse, dying in the process. We then switch to Glimmet, who gets KO'd as a Toxic Debris ability activates. Just like last time, now all we need to do is stall with Klefki. Klefki can substitute and protect cycle for roughly 16 turns before it needs some sort of other support to regain HP, and a Pokemon poisoned from one layer of Toxic Spikes is KO'd in 8 turns. This means that Klefki can handily take down any 2 Pokemon who we're able to poison. We need to do a little bit more work for anything over that. Luckily for this battle, we only have to stall with Klefki for Kofu's 2nd Pokemon, as we're able to cheese his last by swapping between Drifblim and Clodsire, who are immune to Slam and Crabhammer respectively. With that, we win our 5th badge, and we're able to head straight to Lavincia to fight the Electric Gym. The gym trainers in this minigame would have been very problematic since we can't heal between battles, but unlike all the other gym challengers in the game, if you lose to the 2nd trainer, you don't have to rematch the 1st. Taking out the 2nd trainer on the 2nd try, it's time to take on the gym leader. We quickly deal with Iono's Wattrel Arceus with Focus Sash Curse from Haunter, and her Bellibolt Arceus has no moves that can hit Clodsire, so that is also taken down very handily. That just leaves us with her Luxio and Mismagius Arceuses. Arceusopathes? Anyway, we're able to Klefki stall them both down with poison damage easily. The Psychic Gym next, and I have a fun new strategy. Just have to lose to Nemona real quick. Alright, time to fight Tulip. It's always ideal for us when an opponent leads with a physical attacker, because it means Glimmet's Toxic Debris can be active for the entire rest of the enemy team. After getting our spikes up, we bring out our new cast member, Ashiok the Cacturn. With a Focus Sash equipped, Ashiok can use Destiny Bond to guarantee a KO without having to even wait for tick damage like Haunter's Curse. After that, we can use our usual stalling method and we've easily won the 7th badge. Think it's getting too easy? Don't worry, I'm about to be humbled into the fucking floor. I've left the Ghost Gym to last because it's all double battles, which inherently are far less cheesable. After losing several times to the gym trainers and a quick Google search, I catch Estrid the Indeedee and try again. It's not that double battles aren't cheesable, it's just that you need specific double battle cheese tech, like Follow Me. Using this move, we can force the enemies to target Indeedee, giving Ashiok time to Destiny Bond, taking out one of the enemies and making it a 2v1. Even we can win those. Using a Focus Sash on Haunter in a 2v1, we easily land a Curse and therefore easily win the battle. That 2 more times and we're into the actual gym fight. Unfortunately, we need a new strategy again. If Cacturn Destiny Bonds one of the first 2 Pokemon, we just lose since we have no real way to take out enemies when it's still a 2v2. After losing and resetting for hours, I finally came up with a solution. Why don't I just make it a 2v1? I bring a Sandygast called Kaya to the battle along with Estrid. Both Arceus see that Sandygast is in range of being KO'd by a priority Shadow Sneak, so both attempt to use it. Indeedee uses Follow Me, which redirects the Ghost type attacks to Estrid, who is immune as a normal type. Meanwhile, Sandygast hits both Arceus with 6 sand attacks each. Now with both Arceus having minuscule odds to even land attacks, we can start picking off one at a time with Leech Seed. Eventually it comes down to the original sand attacked Arceus and Rhyme's Ace Arceus against Cacturn and Klefki. Cacturn gets hit with an unfortunate slash and the match becomes a 2v1 against us, with Klefki seriously in the red zone. Not ideal. Luckily for us, one of the Arceus had been Leech Seeded, giving Klefki the much needed HP to use Substitute and hold out against the two Arceus, eventually letting the first one tick down from Leech Seed and the second from both Foul Play and Toxic. With that, we have all 8 gym badges and we can start prepping to take on the league. I do a bit of chain breeding to get both Endeavor and Ice Shard onto a Phanpy, whose ability is Sturdy. This gives us a really handy way to use Fear strats without losing our Focus Sash to it. We take a quick picnic just outside the Pokemon League and we head in. Time to give Quintorius the Phanpy a try. Now, time to use Endeavor. Oh right, you only get Sturdy when you evolve. Shit. Good thing I have all these XP candies. Since Rika has 5 Pokemon, doesn't lead with a physical attacker, and doesn't open with any non-attacking moves, she gives us very little wiggle room. Looking at my team, Cacturne can take down any one Pokemon, Donphan can take down any other, Haunter in combination with Klefki can take down any one Pokemon, and Glimmet can take down 2 more with Klefki's help, but only if the Pokemon before them are physical attackers that let the spikes get set up, which is not the case on Rika's team. I again thought I was stuck, but came up with a solution. I went to the Cascafara item shop and bought Clodsire and Air Balloon. Going back to the Rika fight, I reset until Cacturne's Quick Claw activates and takes down Whiscash Arceus. Haunter curses Camerupt Arceus and Klefki successfully stalls it to death, and Donphan successfully endeavors Donphan Arceus. Klefki is able to stall away the poisoned Dugtrio Arceus' health, and now we're down to just Rika's Clodsire Arceus. I bring out my own Clodsire, who with the Air Balloon and Water Absorb is totally immune to Arceus' Liquidation and Earthquake. Once it terastallizes and loses the Poison type, Clodsire is able to use Toxic and we win the fight. Poppy next, and I literally just realised at this exact moment we have no way to beat Larry, for the same reason as why we couldn't beat Rika, except even worse since we won't be able to Toxic a single one of his Pokemon. I realise we're about to have a similar problem with Hassel as well, and I start to panic that I'm just completely fucked myself. I decide to take a small step to relieve part of the issue by putting Sudowoodo back into the party, and giving her a Lucky Egg. We take on Poppy and she's not particularly difficult once we get the right look on a reset. We set up spikes with Glamora, get a Quick Claw proc to use Destiny Bond, I stall with Klefki for poison, Endeavor Ice Shard with Donphan, Curse and stall with Haunter and Klefki, and finally Poison stall one more time with Klefki. It's Larry time! I see exactly one path for victory ahead of me, and I put my faith in 2 things: Quintorius the Donphan and my luck. First, Donphan uses Endeavor and Ice Shard to take out Larry's Tropius Arceus. We stay in and use Endeavor again on 5 HP. We're outsped and Larry's Altaria Arceus uses Ice Beam. Donphan's Focus Band activates its 1 in 10 chance to proc, leaving him on 1 HP, and Endeavor also brings Altaria to 1. Ice Shard knocks it out and Larry brings in Staraptor, who uses Brave Bird and knocks out, just kidding, Donphan survives again, getting the 1 in 100 chance of 2 procs in a row, hitting Endeavor and another Ice Shard. I would have loved to have tried for the 3 in a row, but I literally ran out of Endeavors, so I swap into Haunter, who curses the Oricorio Arceus, and Klefki finishes the job. If you're really paying attention here, you'll notice we're not actually out of the woods yet. Even with that ridiculous look, we'd still need Cacturne's Quick Claw to activate to get us a Destiny Bond to win the fight. That is, of course, if we hadn't given our Sudowoodo a Lucky Egg during the Poppy fight. During this battle, Sudowoodo reached level 40, allowing her to learn Counter. It isn't technically enough to fully KO the Flamigo Arceus, but just before the battle I gave her the Rocky Helmet, making the Arceus take another 12% damage. With barely a sliver of HP left to get through, Cacturne is able to use Spiky Shield to finish the job, leaving only 1 Elite Four member to go. For the battle against Hassel, we place Cacturne in the box and bring out Clodsire. Donphan Endeavor Ice Shards Hassel's Noivern Arceus, and out comes Dragalagi Arceus. If you take a look at its moveset really quickly, you might notice something. Do you see it? 2 of its moves, Clodsire is totally immune to, and the other 2, Klefki is immune to. We're able to swap between the 2 to PP stall until it starts struggling. In order to not take any damage from the struggling, Klefki unfortunately has to burn through a decent amount of PP and health that's vital for the stalling strategy we'll need to use later in the battle. Just before Arceus takes itself out from struggle, I swap to Glamora to get Toxic Debris online. Glamora survives, so we're able to get a second layer of Toxic Spikes when Haxorus Arceus comes out and finishes off Glamora. From there, I swap back to Klefki and start stalling, but with Klefki's resources dwindling, it's not looking so great for the run. Haxorus goes down and Flapple Arceus is up next, and we're continuing the stall train with Klefki. Making the stupidest calculation of my life, I wrongfully think that Klefki can use Substitute on 47 HP, and fail to create one. Luckily, through some miracle, Arceus decides to use Leech Seed, not knocking out Klefki and letting us switch out. Back to old-fashioned early in the video strats, we cycle through Pokemon as fodder to use as the poison slowly takes their health down towards 0. Luckily, getting a double Endure off Haunter, we're able to stall long enough to take it down. Hassle's final Arceus enters and gets poisoned, and I spot another opportunity for some CPU manipulation. While Klefki is out, Baxcalibur Arceus will want to go for Brick Break, so I swap to Haunter. Knowing a Dragon-type Glaive Rush is coming, I swap back to Klefki and repeat this until we finally defeat the last Elite Four member. Time for the final challenge, but really it's more like a victory lap. Gita opens with Espathra Arceus, and I know exactly how to make it use its quick attack so we can set up Toxic Spikes for an easy battle. We open with Donphan and use Endeavor like usual. Arceus' Lumina Crash brings us down to 1 HP, and we bring them right down with us with our Endeavor. From there, instead of using Ice Shard, I swap to Glamora, since the AI will always use a priority move to KO if it can. It does indeed quick attack, letting us set up a Toxic Spike layer. Knowing Lumina Crash is coming, I switch to Cacturn, and then finish it off with a Sucker Punch. I know the AI is just praising me here for using a super effective move, but I'm choosing to believe it's recognizing how good my play was. Go to Arceus next, and we take advantage of its physical attack to get another Toxic Spike layer up. I switch back into Donphan, and like the goddamn tank he is, he procs his Focus Band again, and gets another Endeavor off. Veluza Arceus next, and I'm happy to just endure to waste a turn to let Poison get one more tick. I switch to Sudowoodo and pull out the counter, and it, alongside Rocky Helmet, absolutely annihilates the Arceus. Against the Avalugg Arceus, I bring out Cacturn, who manages to get a double spiky shield, eating most of Avalugg Arceus' health. On an absolute whim, I swap to Haunter, and the Avalugg uses Body Press, which Haunter is immune to. I literally cannot lose at this point. 2 Pokemon left now, and Kingambit Arceus is only a Dark type, so it gets poisoned by the spikes. Cacturn Spiky Shields to tick down some of its health, but goes down to a Stone Edge next turn. Klefki comes out and substitutes and protects until it goes down. Just Glamora Arceus left, and it also gets poisoned. We've positioned ourselves well enough throughout the fight that Klefki has more than enough HP and PP to stall until Glamora goes down, winning us the final battle and completing the challenge. Thanks so much for watching, I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, consider subscribing, it helps me out more than you'd think. Special thanks to my patrons, especially Tier 3 patrons Eamon Crawford, John Barrett and Sean Colgan. Thank you as well to my Tier 2 patrons Avery Bun and Frostfucks, as well as everyone you see on the screen here. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.